Hi, I'm Britt.
And I'm Jax.
And welcome to Nerdorina, where we talk about fun, nerdy topics while drinking our favorite beverage, tea.
And if that sounds fun to you, don't forget to click that subscribe button to see more videos from us. So, in light of Rise of Skywalker recently coming out and Star Wars being a buzzing topic, we are going to rank the Star Wars movies from our favorite to least favorite. And we're also going to enjoy some Star Wars themed snackies.
Let's dig in.
Okay, snackies in order. Crinkle, 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 crinkle. Oh, I can't open it.
They're child-proof.
They are child-proof. Aren't they supposed to be for children?
No. Gummies are for all ages.
I got it. Who'd I get? R2 maybe? It just looks like a blob.
It's graphically rendered to kind of look like something. Yeah. That makes sense for R2.
Okay, so we're going to rank them from least favorite to favorite.
Yes.
Right? We're going to start at the bottom, I mean.
And by the bottom, like, this was really hard to do.
It was so hard to do.
It was so hard. And for me, each trilogy was its own feel, its own mood, its own everything.
Yeah.
So it felt really hard.
It was so hard. And I was having the phenomena happen where, like, I was like, I really like this movie, but there's just so many movies that it was falling to the bottom. And I was like, I feel like it shouldn't be this low because I really liked it. But also, there were so many other movies that I liked more, I guess. It was so hard.
Yeah, I agree. What happened for me is I started from the top and then I got towards the end and I was like, oh no, this is a good movie. So then I had to like jingle it around and this is what we got. So
yeah, the same thing was happening to me.
Okay, so what was your
Bottom?
I don't like it saying that, but yeah, what was your least favorite?
I think you're going to be really surprised.
What?
My bottom was Star Wars Episode 6. The Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So the last movie of the original first trilogy.
Yeah, why? Do you have a reason or it just happened?
I don't have a good reason, I don't think. I just found myself bored in that movie. I just didn't really like it as a movie.
Well, this is good to ask. How old were you when you saw these? Because
I was in my 20s when I saw them the first time.
Okay. Gotcha. That like doesn't tell me a lot, but it helps frame. It removes any nostalgia. So you're ranking these as movies.
Yeah, there's no nostalgia aspect for me.
So this might be interesting.
But I did take into account, like, I'm not ranking like the original trilogy lower because the graphics were terrible. Like, I understand the time that the movies were made in, so I'm not trying to knock the movies for that. And like the first time I did see them was later because my family was like not into sci-fi or anything like that, so it just wasn't a movie that we watched in my house, so I didn't see any of them until I might have been like 18, 19, but we're talking later in life.
Sci-fi. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My family's probably watching this going, what?
Yeah. I mean, my dad was kind of into it, but it just never really came up. He was not a big Star Wars person, so.
Oh my gosh. Don't look. Don't shoot.
Oh yeah, so we don't know each other's rankings.
Yeah, we don't know. We didn't tell each other. Granted, it's a surprise for me, even though I just finalized this, but. Okay. So surprisingly, my bottom is The Rise of Skywalker. Oh, I know, and it's really bad because it just happened. Like I said, I started at the top of my list. I was like, oh, this one's my favorite. Then I went through, and then I got to the end, and I was like, oh, but, like, I loved a lot of things about Rise of Skywalker, including the fact that it did a good job resolving a lot of problems it inherited. And I just loved how, like, the force healing thing. At first I wasn't sure, but I loved, like, the physics of it. It had a very defined limit of you can only transfer as much energy as you have kind of deal.
I did really enjoy it.
And the whole resolution to the Raylo thing. Oh, so that was great. But I guess it wasn't that great. It didn't beat nostalgia, so.
I do feel a little bit lucky that I don't have that like nostalgic attachment to them. I was just able to rate them on like what was in the movie and what I liked and what I didn't like.
So like me, like I'm like when I was looking at the different movies in a list, thinking about this, I remembered like McDonald's toys. I remembered, like the stuff that like the culture around the movie that came out and how I experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the McDonald's toys, but I was just like as a kid, I was like, I don't want a Star Wars toy. I don't know anything about it. Like,
right, because you hadn't seen any.
Yeah.
Of it. Oh god, let's just skirt right past that. Okay, what's next?
Okay. My next one is Solo.
Solo, okay.
So we did include Solo and Rogue One.
Yeah,
in our rankings.
Yeah.
Solo to me was just a side story. It was I have no like real strong attachment to Han Solo. I don't dislike him, but I'm not like, oh my god, Han. Like it's just meh. I don't know. I like the Han and Leia romance. I was rooting for that and everything, but I don't know. It was just a side story, and it wasn't bad, but it was.
Oh boy.
Well,
I guess you'll see in a minute what I thought about Solo, but. So my next least favorite is Revenge of the Sith. Ended up being second to least favorite. And
I don't know how you did that either.
So, it wasn't a terrible movie, but I just remember the first time I saw it, I was like, well, that was a lot. And I liked the prequels because I grew up with them, and so for that to be the resolution for it, I'm not even upset, like, even at the time as, like, being 12 years old or however old I wasn't upset that Anakin went evil, but it was just, it felt kind of rushed, or, like, I don't know, like, I'm sure if I watched it as an adult, I might have seen some nuance to it, but I loved the romance that they were building, and then when she's like, you're going down a path I cannot follow, that was the only good part about it for me.
I loved her being like, listen, I love you, but no.
This is no good.
This is not okay.
This is no good.
Not like a stupid, like, princess story where, like, she just follows him because they love each other or whatever.
Right, so it was good for, like, reveals, but that was the whole movie was reveals. So, that was that.
Fair. Next?
Yeah, let's move on.
So at number 9, I have The Last Jedi. That doesn't sound right. Yeah, no, that's right. Okay. I thought I messed up my numbers for a second. Yeah, I have The Last Jedi. Again, I didn't dislike the movie. It just kind of fell down a little bit because I liked other movies more. So I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I liked like Kylo Ren's battle between good and evil, or light and dark rather, and his like constant like insecurity with being dark, and I liked it all. I don't know. It wasn't bad. It's just other stuff won out above it.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, okay. All right. I respect that. My number 9 ended up being The Force Awakens. And there's like a couple reasons why. Wasn't a bad movie, but and I even watch it over, rerun wise. I watch it more than I would a couple other Star Wars movies. But it's just not up there in my top because it was just a huge nostalgia trip. It, like, I remember the scene where they're running in the desert in the very beginning when Rey's being chased and she's, like, got Finn and they don't know each other, but they're running. And they're trying to find a ship to escape. And they're like, oh, what about that one? And the other one goes, oh, that's a hunk of junk. And it's like, I was like, I think I know where they're going with this, but they better not. And, everything felt forced. And so when they panned over to the dramatic music, and then it's the Millennium Falcon, I was like,
I liked that.
Well, they like...
I literally sat there watching that movie, and I was like, oh, it's the Millennium Falcon!
You were the target audience,
yes,
Jackie.
I was the target audience for that.
But like there was so many things just like that in that movie where it was like would like pause afterwards for like everyone to like have a moment and clap or whatever they wanted us to do. And I was like, all right, let's keep going. Again, didn't hate the movie, but I just was taken out of being immersed so many times because it just felt like a big commercial. And it just didn't blend the new and the old characters well. I think like the two most recent additions that have come after it did a better job at that. But it just felt like original cast, new people. Like it just didn't quite work. But so yeah, that was my number 9.
Okay. All right. Next.
Number 8.
All right. Number 8, I have Rogue One.
Okay.
Rogue One I actually really liked.
Yeah.
I was surprised I really liked it. Like when I put it on, I was like, this is going to be dumb. I'm not going to like it. That's literally what I thought. And so the newer movies I did not see in the theater. I actually watched the newer movies recently.
Oh, wow.
And so I put it on because we were watching them in like story chronological order.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the prequels first, and then the original series, and
in episodic order. Yeah.
So I put Rogue One on in where it fits in the story, and I was like, this is gonna be silly. I'm not gonna like it. Blah blah. I actually really liked it. I thought it fit into like that original series really well, without making it feel like such a stretch that. Like, oh, they just did this to fit this movie, and like it, and I'm sure that's what happened, but it didn't feel like a stretch to me. So I did really like it, and it like became like kind of an important plot point. So I liked it a lot. I just liked other ones more. Which is gonna be kind of the theme of this, I feel like.
Right, until we get like halfway through and we're like, all right, here's the top. We're gonna be guilty about these bottom picks.
I am guilty about the bottom picks.
Okay, so that was number 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I actually feel fully justified in this one. My number 8 is The Phantom Menace. Love the pod racing stuff. Like, as kids, we loved that. My brother, when he was super little, looked like little Anakin. So it was just a thing in our house. And, you know, like, nostalgia-wise, sure, great childhood memory. But as a movie, if I remember right, because it's been a while, it dragged a little bit. It had a lot of good, like, introductions to people. But, you know, it was just, like, a nice space western sci-fi movie. It was a little chill. So... that was my number 8. Don't have a lot to say about it. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't the best.
Fair enough. Number 7. I have episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Oh.
This was another one that was like really hard for me to put so low. I feel like this movie is like really what triggers Anakin's turn to the dark side. Like when he leaves to go and save his mother, and I like originally in that scene happens, he's like battling, and like he chooses to go save his mother, and I was like, yes, he's gonna be light side, but then she dies, and I was like, no, like, and in my brain, like I saw that, and I knew that was like solidifying his like dark side alliance, and so like I really liked that. And obviously that's like the whole budding romance of him and Padme. So I really liked that also. Yeah. I think for everyone until I get to the top ones, it's just going to be there were other movies I like more.
That's fine.
I have no justified reasons for having anything so low except for episode 6. I just didn't like it.
So number 7. Okay. Alright, I'm feeling weird about it, but it's fine. Number 7, I have The Last Jedi. And, again, like, not a terrible movie. I guess what didn't put it up higher for me was it had its problems. It's inherited a lot of the same problems that The Force Awakens had. That it was still ironing out the creases of being in the Star Wars franchise without having to showcase all of the original fun stuff. So, you know, I loved Reylo and all of like the conflict that resolved from that came from that, and the whole, it was far-fetched for a lot of people, but I just really love the fact that they were able to force connect. And sure, that was facilitated, especially in this movie, by an evil force that was trying to introduce temptation, but I just loved it, and it did a really good job at showing like their apprehension, but they both were afraid. Both Rey and Kylo were afraid, and I thought that was really cool that they showed that. But then other parts of it were kind of rough, and that's why it's lower. Kind of rough in the way that they dealt with Leia being force sensitive. Cool, beautiful scene where she's blasted off into space, and she just kind of like, nope, I'm not dead yet, and drags herself back in with the force. I remember in the theater going, excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir? Like,
and I was like, that's dumb. Like, that, to me, like, you would die instantly.
Like, I made peace with it.
Instantly.
Right.
I did make peace with it, but I was still like, that was a poor choice.
Yeah, and yeah, the whole fact that in the newer trilogy, they've gone and made it that Leia was trained like the Jedi, off camera somewhere, but she just chose not to. And I don't know, like, maybe I'm not so upset about the fact that that's what they went with, but maybe the way they presented it.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it was all like an afterthought. It was like, oh yeah.
It did feel like an afterthought.
Yeah.
It did feel like an afterthought.
But yeah, so that was 7 for me.
I mean, you ranked it higher than I did. It was 9 for me.
That's true.
Alright, so my number 6 is episode 1, Phantom Menace.
Okay. Pretty close to mine, actually.
Yeah, I really liked episode 1. Darth Maul was one of my favorite bad guys.
I forgot about him, but yeah, I know he is iconic.
Yeah, I loved his saber and understand that, like, that saber is very unique to him, and that's probably why they didn't give it to Rey. But Rey with her stick and stuff, I was like, oh my god, she's gonna have a saber like Darth Maul, and like, oh, yeah. And I was like, this is so cool. But yeah, like, I don't know, I liked him, and I loved seeing like Obi-Wan's background a little bit, like him training, or being an apprentice rather, and then the dying wish of his master, like train the boy, and you're like, okay, so this is where Anakin's really gonna come into play.
Qui-Gon was pretty cool. He was like a redeeming part of that movie, because he was the most chillest Jedi ever.
He was amazing. He was great.
Like, he kind of followed the rules, but was also like, that rule's dumb, so we're not gonna worry about it, but I'm still a Jedi.
Yeah. Like... yeah. No, I really liked episode 1.
Fair.
Yeah.
Alright, what are we at, 6?
Yep.
So my number 6 is gonna have to be Solo, because I really liked it. It had a really good progression. I really liked the little plot twist near the end. I love that the girlfriend was bad. Like, that was a really nice, and it was a comfortable twist. It wasn't like, well, that was random. It like made sense. And you know, there were a couple things that weren't. It threw me off because when the movie first starts, you're like underground with them being children, like being tried or whatever, and that was kind of weird and jarring because you don't know where you are, you don't know what you're looking at, the alien, it was just jarring, so it took me a while to recover from that. But it was good, it was comfortable, I liked it. Not terrible.
Again, you put it much higher than I did, so. Alright, number 5. So now we're like officially in the top half of, of our rankings. So number 5, I have episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I liked it. I mean, we have the big Darth Vader reveal in that movie. It's, you know, the Han and Leia relationships budding, and like I said earlier, like, I was definitely rooting Han and Leia, so I liked that whole thing. I liked Luke kind of coming into, like, realizing that he, like, is not ready really, and, you know, all that stuff. He's like he knows he has to face his father, but he ends up losing, and yeah, this whole I really liked it. It was a good one for me. Made top 5, so
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Wait, did you say? Oh, I'm like sitting here nodding at you, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what my number 5 is. The Empire Strikes Back. Okay, all right. Like I said, it's a surprise for me too. You know, I made it, and that's gone. I really liked it.
Immediately went out of your brain.
Yeah, the tauntaun, like that's just so iconic when Luke has to like cuddle in for warmth, and it's a joke I make to this day. Like,
yeah.
So that was awesome. Yeah, like Jackie was saying, the buildup of relationships was good. You know, Darth Vader, you know, all the fun stuff. Like, most of the Star Wars references you hear is from that.
Yep.
So it's pretty good.
Those are like your big like Star Wars moments, like.
Oh yeah, most of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4.
Number 4, I have episode 4, A New Hope.
That's fair.
I actually, in the original rankings of these movies, I had A New Hope much higher. And in like thinking about it and reworking them, I was like, oh, I think I have to bump it down. But I did really, really like A New Hope. I mean, it's the OG. It's, you know, like it's the first one. It's like, it was very, very good. I love like Luke learning about the Force because it's like our real first introduction to the Force in that movie. Movie chronologically anyway, or release chronological. And I really liked it. It starts Luke's story. It's very, very good, but it ended up getting bumped because of other stuff that I liked better. But it was originally much higher on my list.
That's fair. That's fair. So my number 4 was actually Rogue One. I really liked it. I went into it with watching it with no expectations. I hadn't really seen a lot of trailers. I was kind of like, you know what, we're gonna see what happens, because I think by that point, The Force Awakens had already come out, and or something like that. Some of the newer ones had come out. Yeah, at least like so. The reason why I'm pretty sure at least Force Awakens came out was because, you know, I'd already gotten my hopes down. I was like, okay, I have a base for what this new movie might be like, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't remember because I watched the later movies like all together in one when they were all out, except for Rise of Skywalker that we saw in the theater. So,
yeah, so I really liked it. The characters were great. They did a good job of like personifying the robots better. Where The Force Awakens kind of failed, just having a really cute thing rolling around and beeping. Like,
but he's amazing.
Okay, maybe. Rogue One just did a little bit more. It felt like more like the classic from the original trilogy, just with like the new graphics and everything. So I really like that. The only thing that like really got me was at the end when everything's exploding and like suddenly the two characters are kissing, and it's like,
yeah, that was weird.
Did we have to do that? Like, you did a really good job, movie, like making everything else cool and organic. Like, was that necessary? So that was weird for me. But other than that, I really liked it. Main character, loved her. She was really good. Yeah. So that was my 4.
All right. Number 3. I have Star Wars Episode 3. So my 3, 4, and 5 are all correlated with their episode number. So Revenge of the Sith. I loved this movie. This was like Anakin. I love Anakin. Anakin is up there on my favorite characters. I don't know why I love Anakin so much, but I'm an Anakin lover.
He's cute, but yeah.
I mean, there's that. That helps. But so we like see his story arc come to a close, and like the dark side wins in that one. Like, it doesn't end like foo happy, like yippee, like the dark side wins. And I really like that. I thought that was a fun twist, and like I just really liked it. It was hard to put this one that low too. So
it's funny you talking about that. Reminded me that I remember in like the theaters when I saw 3, when everyone's like still getting over all the traumatic stuff that's happening at the end, they shoe in a lot of really quick like details that kind of line up, you know, Luke and Leia and everything like that. They're like, oh, where are we gonna ship this kid? Where's that kid gonna go? We gotta protect it from Vader. And so they shoe in all of these like plot details right at the end when everyone's like, oh, that was traumatic. Padme just died. Oh, she died of a broken heart? Okay.
Yeah, that part was just meh for me, but...
Alright, cool.
Yeah.
So my number 3 was Return of the Jedi. And that movie, you know, is awesome for a lot of reasons for me. For me, anyway. It's got the Ewoks. They hop and skip and jump through a bunch of different planets. I've always liked the Ewoks with my family, so there's a lot of iconic things that come from that one. A lot of stuff comes to a close. You get to see debatably the only character development that Vader gets in the entire original trilogy. All in that last little bit when he wants to see his son before he goes, wants to see him with his own eyes. So yeah, it just felt like it had to be in the top few. It was just good for me. Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Obviously.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I don't know. Number 2? My number 2 is Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
I really, really liked it.
Okay.
Rey and Kylo Ren are my favorite 2 characters in the series.
Their chemistry is amazing.
I just love them. I loved seeing their story come to a close. My favorite Star Wars scene is them fighting, like, in the sunken, like, Death Star wreck with all the waves and the water. And
yeah, that was good.
Oh, that's my favorite Star Wars scene in the whole series, and I just, like, I really liked it. And I really liked seeing, like, Kylo Ren and Rey's stories, like, conclude, because I love them, like, so yeah, that's my number 2.
Wow. So for me, my number 2 is A New Hope. And for a ton of reasons for me, it essentially introduces a ton of stuff. You get that, especially when Luke is just like a nobody in the desert, and he's like, I don't want to be here. And his aunt and uncle are like, yo, you got a job, kid. Can you just, like, not be terrible? Like, stop complaining. You're an adult, essentially. And, so it was just between that and just all of the fun, like, introduction things. The trash compactor was in that one. Oh my gosh, when the whole crew, like, meets each other. And the trash compactors are so great for so many reasons. For a lot of OG Star Wars fans, there's a lot of fun, like, trivia from it. Like, I don't know if they've remastered it out in new versions of it, but you can literally see Carrie Fisher swearing because something happens. Like, you can read her mouth going in the background because I don't know if she fell, hit herself, I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you know that story, but it's just that iconic moment when you can literally see Carrie being Carrie. And so yeah, that's my number 2 is A New Hope.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for, like, me really being attached to some other characters in the series, I think that one would have been much higher. I really, really liked that one. This is it, the big number 1, right?
Yeah, number 1.
The Force Awakens.
Okay.
So this one was solely off, like, the reaction I had the first time I watched it. So all the other Star Wars movies, like, I love the Star Wars series. I'm not gonna, like, say that the rest of it pales in comparison, but when I saw this movie, I was like, oh my god, I need to see what happens next. Like, for some reason, like, this movie spoke to me more than the other ones. It introduced Rey and Kylo Ren, which I mentioned were my favorite 2 characters, and, like, I was immediately like, I loved Rey, like, from the start. I liked the way that they played with the Force, especially in the later trilogy. Like, they made it more like the games. They made it more like Force Unleashed and, like, those other games where, like, they pick people up and throw them, and they pull spaceships, and they, like, use the healing powers in Rise of Skywalker. And I liked that development of, like, similar to gameplay Force use, which really pulled me into the movie. Because that's what I love about, like, The Force Unleashed is one of my favorite games. And that was, like, to me, it, like, pulled, like, so much, like, remnants from that gameplay that I was like, ooh, I'm loving this. Like, and I don't know, like, it's just, I resonated a lot with it, and I loved it. It's my favorite one.
I'm not going to rain on her parade. I'm going to let her have that parade, and she can...
I know there were errors with it. Like, I understand the errors, but it was just my reaction watching it was, like, so into it that I was...
So what's so funny is listening to, like, your reasons for liking it was, like, the games, this and that. It's, like, why people have nostalgia for the older movies, because they had their own games, they had their own things, and so that was your connection to these new ones.
But, like, The Force Unleashed and Knights of the Old Republic are, like, way up there on, like, my favorite games. And it was, like, the way they used the Force in those games came back into that movie, where I feel like the previous movies, they didn't really, like, and maybe it was, you know, special effect limitations, but they didn't really show us the Force like that.
So it's super funny that you talk about that, because a lot of fans actually don't like, not a lot, but there's, like, a group of fans who don't like the newer ones because too many Force users have too many, like, extra special abilities. Before, if someone could do something special with the Force, they were a big deal. Like the Force choke, everything like that little, in comparison to what the newer characters are doing. Anybody who could do anything, like a special move, they were amazing. They were like, wow, you're really powerful. So the fact that these newer characters have all of these, like, they can pull, do whatever they want. So some people don't like that. But, so I thought that was really interesting to hear that.
Yeah,
I don't have a too strong of an opinion either way. It makes it more fun because it's more like magic, more like science magic. So I can totally get that.
Yeah, I don't know, I really liked it.
Okay, so my number one, if you haven't guessed yet, is Attack of the Clones. And that's my number one for, like, so many reasons. Again, I, like, grew up with the prequels, so it's, you know, had an impact on me when I was younger. But there's so many great things, like, episodically, number two had all of the great things, the positive things about the relationship between Padme and Anakin. It had, like, all the cute romancy stuff, because the Jedi were protecting her. So, surprisingly, Anakin got a lot of alone time with her. And everything was just so good, especially near the beginning, when that one bounty hunter used, I don't know if she, like, dropped bugs or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
When she, like, drilled that thing into the window that she was sleeping in, and then it, like, crawled her on the floor. Yeah. And then, like, Anakin, like, jumped in and was like, and saved her. Oh, so good. But, so there was that, and just the relationship between Anakin and his teachers is so good. Obi-Wan. Yeah. And they just go back and forth. You know, I hate flying, all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
There's always a bigger fish. That line comes from too. And of course the iconic arena gladiator scene. Yeah. Oh, where they all are, like, chained up, and they all, Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, each have their own monster set up to essentially devour them in front of the stadium. And they each have to adapt their own fighting styles to deal with it. And it was just, I remember, like,
and they're like, what about Padme? And I forget who said what, but the other one was like, oh, I think she's got it, and she's, like, already at the top of her pole. She's
at the top of the pole that she was tied to, like, just dealing with this tiger, like, perfectly, space tiger, like, perfectly handling it. And then, you know, by the end, there's the Clone Wars breaks out, and there's a epic fight where Yoda bounces around like he doesn't need a cane. Yeah. I remember because a bunch of my family went, and I remember my cousin was like, oh, what does he need that cane for? Like, because at the end, Yoda just, crotchety again, picks up the cane. after just kicking butt. And like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's my favorite for like so many reasons. And
Yeah.
again, this was really hard.
It was very, very hard. The only two that I knew off the bat was Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi. Because I knew I did not like Return of the Jedi, so it was going to be the bottom, and I knew I loved The Force Awakens, so it was going to be the top. But after that, it was really, really hard to do.
Yeah, it was hard. I knew Clone Wars was super special to me, but
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones? Yeah. Attack of the Clones was special to me. I mean, I watched the TV show, so I guess that was special too. But, yeah, so this was hard. This was rough.
So hard. So I knew I was probably going to be an unpopular opinion having the newer movies in my top. But I really liked them. I don't know. I loved the use of the Force in them, which is what a lot of people didn't like. So I knew it was going to be like unpopular opinion for me to have them so high, but I really liked them.
Well, you know it's probably unpopular opinion that my number 2 has the most hated Star Wars character in it. Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
If I have that right, I think I do.
I like Jar Jar Binks.
I love that he becomes a senator. That's just like the best thing ever.
I like him. I have no problems with him.
Let us know in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything we said. What your favorite...
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. What your favorite characters are. If you like Jar Jar Binks, which I really want to know if you do, because that's surprising to me. But
I mean, I don't like him, but I have nothing against him. He's fine. He's funny.
Okay. And don't forget and like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, or we enraged you so much you want to see what else we do that will enrage you.
Yeah, maybe
Please.
we'll enrage you more.
Yeah, you know? It's good to feel all those emotions.
And thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye!